Hello, everyone, and welcome to my podcast, My So-Called Fabulous. I'm Tiffany Blockman, and I'm everything fabulous and a lot not so fabulous. I'm chef, my wife, mom, cookbook author. I love fitness and I love beauty, everyone. So welcome to my show, My So-Called Fabulous. It's good to see and hear you hear me. All right? Yeah, absolutely. Right. At the end of 2019, we asked followers what they wanted to hear on my podcast. We ran that through their stories and on Instagram, and they were interested in relationships, breakups, the dating scene. I'm not dating, not me, but my daughter's dating. Of course, well, she wants to be dating. But a lot of my followers are Kennedy's age, which is so crazy, and it's Gen Zs. Gen Zs, I'm a Gen Xer, and she's a Gen Z, and this is shocking to me. I even had one follower ask, please have Kennedy tell me how to survive junior high. Wait, what? Okay, first of all, I'm curious why there is junior high and Instagram. I'm not real sure about that. So I want you to meet my daughter, Kennedy. Now, here she is. Welcome to the show, Kennedy.
Hello. Thank you.
Absolutely. So, okay, you all have met her on Instagram, all right? So you've heard me talk about her in my intro, and she is my fabulous daughter. I love her so much. I'm so proud of her. But I have her here today to talk to, yes, her mother, her 55-year-old mother, about dating. So Kennedy, tell us what's going on in the dating world. You're a junior at TCU, so what's going on? Nothing.
Oh my gosh. I don't know. It's one of those things where, we've talked about this before. In my, the way that we do dating nowadays is so, and of course, this whole podcast, when I'm talking about, quote, we do dating, that is by no means the law of the land. Right. Everyone does it that way. There's differences everywhere, but my experiences are what I'm going to be speaking on, mine, and those closest to me and my acquaintances, right. Mostly at TCU from high school, the whole nine.
Your squad.
My gang, my squad, my girl gang.
Right.
So, by no means is this the law.
Right.
It's just how I've experienced it and how those closest to me have.
Well, and you and I have discussed this, and I have very strong opinions, which you've been guilty of before, not from me, but from...
Oh, we'll get there.
I certainly date.
We will get there.
So we have discussed, ironically, there's a big difference and then there's not a big difference between when I was dating at your age and then you're dating at my age, at your age. So the biggest thing that I see that's the difference, when I was in high school and college, you actually made a phone call with a landline, or you met someone. You didn't have social media. You didn't have text. You didn't have all the apps, and you didn't have this social media to guide you through. And you're in a pool of men at TCU, and honestly, we went on a date, and a date was considered make a plan, pick up, meet your family if you haven't met them before. I know, it's scary.
That's a foreign concept.
I know, it's a foreign concept. So you meet the family, and then you actually go somewhere, and then you come home. And if there was a lot of off the side roads that some boys wanted to. I have to tell you a quick story before I get to you. So I went out with this guy, and he was in college, and I was in high school. And so, not naming names, I can't even remember his flipping name. But my parents were great friends with his parents, so they were like, "Oh my gosh, he's great. He's so sweet." I just remembered his name. So anyway, so we went out. We went to Waco, was the big city from where we are. So it was about 35, 40 minutes. So we went. We went to a fabulous dinner. It was great. We came back, and we're going down the road toward my hometown, and he takes a right down a dirt road. And I'm like, that's not the right way. So of course he my dad is a big, strong man. He takes your hand and just squeeze it off, and he was trying to scare the boys.
Oh, it's a power move.
Right? It's such a power move. So, we went down the dirt road, and he proceeds, and he goes, "Okay, put out or get out."
Oh my gosh. That's my favorite story.
Okay. And I got out of the car and started walking
Of course
home.
You did, because you're a real strong woman.
I am a real strong woman. So I started walking. And I just was about to say a nasty word. That dude, I walked all the way home, and he drove beside me, and he had to deal with my dad when I got home. So then there's that. There's that. So that's not changed, I don't think. I think the intention sometimes, a physical... It's sex, right? That's some. It's.
When people say guys think with one head,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Sorry.
okay. So, and there you go. I mean,
I've told my mom, y'all, like, me being on this podcast, I might be a bit of a liability. So I'm going to go ahead and apologize for that ahead of time. But I'll say it as it is.
That's true. Okay. So I've said it enough. Okay. So that was my, of many, and I had great experiences. Don't get me wrong, but tell us about dating. What's going on out there?
I mean, the phrase date is like, kind of has been skewed so far from what I believe it used to be, at least in my opinion. Like you kind of mentioned, dating was, asking you on a formal date, picking you up, going to the door and, going to dinner, whatever the case may be, going to an event, something like that. Nowadays, I can't even imagine like how many dates I've been asked on, probably like 4, right?
Have you been on how many actual that they made a plan, came to get you, and now you're in college? But I think I met 2 as a date in high school.
Yeah, you met 2 in high school that were dates. And of course, in high school, it's a little different. But our date was like going to Minchie's, which is like a yogurt shop, and just hanging out and talking.
Right.
But still, of course, the date factor was there.
Right.
They've said, I want to take you on a date.
Right.
But in college, I would say probably 2 as well. Like I've had 2 dates. And honestly, like the thing, if you count quote unquote hanging out, like a guy asking, hey, want to hang out?
What is a hangout?
That's a valid question. And honestly, it's different for everyone.
I mean, if you know a person for a while, I'd hang out. But
yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I think that there's like a time and a place to say, hey, want to hang out?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If it's someone who, for me at least, if it's a guy who has predominantly been very respectful and, been very clear about, okay, well, being respectful, would you like to hang out? I understand that saying, oh, want to hang out is probably a lot less scary for a guy because if you say want to go on a date, like the fear of rejection there is so much more intense than like, oh, well, I just asked her to hang out and she was busy. You know what I mean?
Get that.
I guess, but yeah. And again, that's the funniest part is I sit here and like I try to explain these things. And in my mind, I think that we all tend to justify things that we're used to. And so this is what my generation, what I've seen does. And so in our minds, we're all like, oh yeah, it makes sense. It's totally fine. I could justify XYZ. But then I sit here and I try to explain it to you or my dad or y'all's friends, pretty much anyone that's not am I a Gen Z?
You're Gen Z.
So anyone that's not a Gen Z, like I'll try to explain it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I am literally speaking a foreign language. Why are we the way that we are?
Exactly. It is. And can you imagine explaining it to your mom or a Gen Xer? So it's foreign. And we have a friend, a family friend, a couple friend, and she went to TCU and she was telling me the other day that she went to a lot of events solo. They had asked us to the rodeo event last weekend. And I said, well, she'll be solo. And she said, you know what? I was solo for a lot of events during and after TCU. And she said, of course, I met my prince. And she absolutely did. So, it happens. It happens a lot. I dated a lot. I'm thinking I was a serial dater probably.
See, and it's funny because whenever you say I dated a lot, I think that the way that society sees dating now, in my mind at least, my mind immediately dates to like, oh my gosh, you had so many different boyfriends, when that was probably not the case. No. You know what I mean? It was truly going on dates and, oh, well, this didn't really work out, but I went on a date. He was nice. That was cool.
Right.
But in our mind, it's like, if you're dating someone, it's like, oh my gosh, well, they're dating. Or the worst is, oh, well, they're a thing. They're talking. I'm like, what does that mean?
That talking. And you're not even talking.
No, you're texting. We're pen pals.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't make sense to me because you're not even talking. I remember I'm talking to so-and-so. And I think I asked you one time, have you ever spoken to him, like physically spoken? You're like, no, haven't done that.
Oh, my favorite is, and this doesn't happen as much in college, but in high school, a lot, what would happen was, you'd be talking, I did air quotes for those of you that can't see me, talking to a guy, which means basically just texting all the time, like, hey, what's up? Not much, how about you? Like, that was it. And so we're talking, not dating, of course. And I'd see him, this happened to my friends, all of us. We would see these guys that we're talking to in the hallways at high school, and they would just walk the other direction, like act like they didn't see us, right? So then they would text us later that day after school and be like, hey, oh my gosh, like I think I saw you in the hallway. And I'm like, yeah, you did. You're not blind. Like, you saw me. You saw me. Why did you walk the other direction? I think it's just the fear of, I don't know if it's rejection or just the way that it is. Like, it's just not cool to like show your, like.
You know what? And I think about this all the time because when I was at TCU, we dressed up to go to class. I mean, we really did. It was jeans and sorority t-shirt, sweatshirt. But I mean, we looked, and I'm not going to be offensive here, but we looked
presentable.
Well, you said it, but in
you
high
don't have
school,
to say it. I got this.
Okay. High school and college. I mean, okay, if you open Kennedy's Instagram or mine and see her I mean, we all have, yoga days, my Lululemon days, but I mean, the way y'all dress for class. There we go. So what do you wear to class?
So day to day, I and most of the girls, like, unless we have a presentation to do, I would say that the vast majority of girls I know that this is also a very Southern thing. I have heard that because I have friends who go to school in like Minnesota and they do not wear baggy t-shirts to school. Like what my friends and I walk out of our house in probably looks more like PJs. Okay. Because it is like a size large sorority shirt. If it's summer, or hot outside, it's shorts. You can't even tell that I'm wearing them because my shirt's so long. And then tennis shoes. Don't worry, they always match. Right. But that, Yeah. During the winter, I look like the Michelin Man. Yeah. Right. To put it very nicely. Right. So it's just
sweats, pants.
My big thing is, this might just be me being stubborn. Not stubborn. That's probably not the right word. But I'm like, let me be clear. I'm here to learn. Like, I am at school. I am not paying this much money to be, this beautiful, like, oh my gosh, yay. She's up at 8 a.m. and she just looks like she just stepped out of a magazine. Like, no, I don't really care about that. Right. Because I'm kind of going, okay, well, if a guy, and I know that you were saying like, we dress presentable, and it wasn't for the sense of a guy, that was just how it was. Right. But in my mind, I'm like, Greg, my stepdad, has said to me before, he's like, well, Kennedy, like, you don't look the cutest when you go to class. Like, no offense at all. And I don't take offense to that. But
no wonder you don't have a date. That's
yeah, he'll kind of say like, no wonder no guys want to date you. And I'm like, let me be clear. And again, this might be me being stubborn, but I'm like, if the guy can't handle me at my worst, then, you're not getting me at my best. Like, I'm sorry. That's what life is.
So do you think that they're intimidated, or guys or girls? This goes on both sides. Right. Intimidated what they see on social media versus then they see, I don't know what they see in class. They go, oh, never mind. There's pimples and
oh, yikes. She still has pimple cream on. That's disgusting.
Oh, my goodness. And did she brush her teeth? Oh, she didn't.
Oh, my gosh. Deodorant. Have you heard of it? Well, it's funny because one of my very best friends and roommate, she and I are both kind of more traditional. Like, we grew up in traditional homes where it was, guys ask you on a date, they show up to your door, they meet your parents, and that's just kind of like how it was. And so, and also guys make the first move. It's like the very deep South, tradition of that, where, so for us, intimidation isn't really the thing. It's probably more a fact of, we have been trained from when we were little to, let guys come to you rather than girls going to them. And so
chase.
Yeah. And so it's like, for us, we've talked about this countless times of, it's just guys, like, if they aren't coming to us, well, they expect us to go to them. Well, that's not how we were raised. Right. You know what I mean? We were not raised to approach a guy and be like, hey, want to go on a date? Like, we were just not raised to do that.
Oh, I'd die before I did that.
Oh my gosh. You would catch me dead before you would catch me doing that.
Absolutely. And I know that is I am impressed with women that can do that.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know what it is, because I'm a pretty confident woman, but I think it is. I think there's that Southern, maybe it's that Southern upbringing. I don't know.
But I think it's just tradition. Like and I know we keep harping on this, like, oh, it's a Southern thing. Right, when it probably isn't, but predominantly in the South, you are raised very traditionally. Most of the time, at least I think I was, you were, my roommate was. And And so that's just what we learned. Like our moms were, the stories of our parents meeting were not our moms going up to our dads before they met. It was our dads approaching them.
Exactly.
And that's what we grew up. That's what we knew. So that's what we expect, I guess.
Exactly. And but on the flip coin, it just hit me. Your college roommate, your freshman year, she's been dating the same guy since 8th grade. Right.
I think it was seventh
grade. So, and they're still together. They're both
are
at TCU and so
they're precious.
Happy.
Love
they're
them.
precious. So you have that as well. And I have friends that are, I have a friend in Austin that she and her husband met probably in junior high, and they have only met each other, and they've been married. I mean, she's my age, so they've married each other, and they've only, it's just been them. So there is that. I have seen that. So anyway, it's just an interesting thing. So, okay. So the way you guys look. All right. So yeah, I see how you look, girl.
Yeah.
But I know you're not worried about it because I guess it's all just this pool of, I guess if someone's dressed up, you kind of go, she's got a presentation today. Poor thing.
Well, do you remember, I'm not going to say the campus name, but so I go to TCU, as we've mentioned, we toured another school in Texas. And I remember, because this is how I dressed in high school too. That's how everyone pretty much dressed in high school.
Right.
I remember we were touring a campus and walking on the campus with our tour guide, whatever. And I remember kind of looking around, and the girls that were walking to class, I mean, I don't want to cuss, but like they had their stuff together.
Right.
Let's say that.
Right.
Like they had on their cute thigh-high boots with like a little heel on. They had their cute little cardigan dress sweater on with their Louis Vuitton bag, hair perfectly curled, makeup done. And it's like probably 9:00 in the morning. And so for me, I'm going, what? And so for me, it was just kind of, I didn't really want to be on a campus where that was the norm.
Right.
And it might not have been the norm. That might have been just like that, a couple girls. So yeah, that was pretty much the norm.
Yeah. Everybody had presentations that day.
Yeah. So in other words, that was the norm. And for me, that just kind of deterred me because I remember going to TCU and I was like, this is my style. Like these girls look so comfy going to class. They look like they just do not care. And that was just like my thing. I was like, I love that. That was so far up my alley that it truly was kind of a game changer in the decision making because I could just tell that the girls on my my now campus at TCU were so comfortable with just whatever they had on. And then the other campus, it was more like keeping up with the Joneses, maybe like had to be dressed up every day when if I had class at 8 a.m., I'm not waking up at 5:45 to get ready.
Right. I agree with that. So, which brings me to, do I have something in my nose?
Oh gosh.
No, I feel like there's something in my nose. Anyway, sorry guys, we digress. All right, so okay, so social media. So social media, huge craze. I'm swearing there's some.
Do you need a tissue? I have one.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Okay, so anyway, so social media. Sorry guys, I want to talk to you about that because obviously we didn't even have phones when I was growing up. Or in college. And you asked me the other day, you go, so what did you do? Write each other? I'm like,
I'm like snail mail.
Well, yeah.
Did you send it with an owl like Harry Potter? Like write him a letter? Like,
okay.
Well, no, seriously. You said the other night, you said something about, in like middle school, a guy would write a letter and say like, do you want to date me?
Check the box.
Check yes or no by George Strait, baby. The king.
See, when you call hanging out or talking, we called it, oh gosh, what did we call it?
Going steady.
Going steady or we're going out. And my mom and dad were going, well, where are you going? Going out. Well, no, you're not leaving this house. So anyway, it's pretty funny. So anyway, social media. So tell me, so there's, Instagram, Snapchat. Okay, so you were telling me the other day, this guy Snapchat me the other day, and I'm like, what does that mean?
Okay, so...
Or explain to us. I know what it means now.
I'm not knocking Snapchat at all. Like, I personally love Snapchat. Like, I use it all the time. I talk to my friends through it. I post stories on it. Like, in no way am I knocking it.
Right.
I am just saying that there is, how do I describe this? There's a bit of a different connotation attached to it, I guess. Yeah. So like the other day, I'm sitting in class. First day of class, I sit down, this dude sits next to me. We start talking. I'm like, hey, so are we here for making sure we're in the right class?
Right.
Nothing huge. And so he's like, yeah, we're here for the right class. Okay, cool. So we, talking, oh, so where are you from? Oh, Boston, whatever. So then he goes, hey, I'm going to get your Snapchat just because like I probably won't come to class a whole lot. So like I'm gonna get your Snapchat. And in my mind, I was kind of like,
there's a looker. Hey, there's potential.
wow, hello, green flags everywhere. Not
Red flags.
No,
Red.
green. No, yeah, good, yay.
Oh.
No, I was being sarcastic.
Okay.
It's okay. It didn't it's okay. You win some, you lose some.
Red,
But yeah, so I was kind of going, oh yeah, okay, whatever. So I give him my Snapchat and anyway, but I didn't add him back just because I was like, that's weird. And he dropped the class anyway.
Oh, good.
But in my mind, I was kind of going, okay, if you really wanted to find out about class and everything, like you would not be Snapchatting me. You would just text me and say, hey, like, what's the assignment?
Exactly.
Like Snapchat, there's just a different connotation. It's like, you might want to get to know me and you might want to, you know, pursue me or anything like that. But there's just like, why wouldn't you just ask me for my phone number first?
Well, I remember when you were in junior high in our squad of moms, the mom squad.
The Fab Five.
The Fab Five squad. You all go, you girls know who you are. And we were terrified of Snapchat because we heard there was nasty pictures.
Well, let's be clear. In junior high,
yeah,
flat as a board. So there were no nasty pictures being sent.
Well, I mean,
transparency.
I mean,
oh, the other way around.
Yeah, the other way around. So that was our fear of, but it goes away, right? Like the picture goes away. Is this the one? Okay.
Yeah, that's the one where it's like you send it and then you send it for like 10 seconds or something and then it goes away.
Goes away. And that's what we were afraid of. So we were like, oh my gosh. So we were nervous about it. So
the helicopter moms had to like put the helicopter away, didn't they?
Well, you know what? I mean, I remember a big group email going out to like, don't let your kids do this, blah, blah, blah. So anyway,
we love to hear it.
Lord even knows what happened on that. I just can't even. I cringe to think about that. But anyway, so social media and text, we've talked about. They just text and you just want a pen pal, I guess.
Well, it's so funny because you said, oh, well, you'll meet back in your day. I mean, I hate saying back in your day. That makes you sound like you're back in like the pioneer times. But so whenever you were dating in high school, it was, you've mentioned they call you, they ask you on a date, they pick you up. Mm-hmm. Pretty much all probably within a week, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, no.
It was a week in advance. We had to have a week in advance.
Oh, the courtesy.
Yes.
Well, no, now it's very much like if a guy's actually trying to pursue you, it's, well, okay, well, we're going to text for, let's say like 3 weeks. Okay. So we're going to text for 3 weeks. Okay. Well, now maybe we can hang out or go on a date. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, well, why are we texting? Like basically by the time you get to the date, it's like, I know everything about you. I feel like,
right.
Like I know what you had for breakfast. Like this is weird.
You could save all that time just by going one time and go, this ain't it.
This ain't it, chief.
So you did go out with a young man at TCU. And,
oh no.
And, you did go out and it was a lot of texting at first, right? But
yeah, well actually, so I ghosted him at first.
And he was very handsome, I thought.
Yeah, cute guy, whatever. But I unintentionally ghosted. And for those of you that don't know what ghost means, that means you kind of just go like radio silent, I guess. And so like we had been texting at my freshman year, had been texting. And then I think I just got busy or something where I just forgot to respond and he kind of never reached back out, so technically I didn't ghost him, but we just kind of stopped talking. Well, so then my freshman year summer going back into sophomore year, he Snapchatted me and was like, hey, like, hope your summer's going well. You know, would love to get together and, you know, take you out whenever we get back to TCU. And so in my mind, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so sweet. So nice. Just the thought of it. So I was like, oh my gosh, for sure. So we started talking again, get back to campus. If I have one piece of advice for like literally anyone.
Oh gosh, right.
It would be do not go on a first date in another city.
I mean, the first time you basically saw him.
The first time I met him.
Oh my.
Not even saw him, met him.
Mm-hmm.
So he picks me up, which was so nice. Great, whatever. Picks me up from my dorm. And we were going to go to a sporting event in Arlington, which is, how would you say, like
30 minutes, maybe.
Okay, but with traffic, think about.
An hour.
So it was like an hour away, which is not bad at all. Well, so he picks me up. It's great. The drive there is fabulous. Like we're talking, it's fine, whatever. So then we get to the game. And he goes, so do you like basketball? And you know me, I make no bones about who I am. Like I'm not going to say, yeah, I'm in love with basketball just because he likes basketball.
Because you love sports, right?
I love sports, but my favorite's football. Like, and so what I said to him verbatim was, well, you know, I do enjoy basketball. If it's on, I will certainly watch it and enjoy it. But by no means am I going to like go out of my way to like make sure I'm watching a game. You know, that's just kind of how I am. And he looks at me and he goes, has anyone ever told you that you have some really loud opinions?
That was it for her, people.
I wish that the people on the podcast could see my face because I was at such a loss for words. I was like, ooh, wow. Well, if you think that opinion is harsh, you should hear my opinion on you, my friend. You should hear that one. No, totally kidding, kind of.
Not really.
Not really. So that was the first straw. And then it was just kind of over and over again where you know how it is. Once you see one thing where you're like, that was an ugly side.
Had the game even started yet?
Oh my gosh.
No.
So I'm texting my best friend, Sophie, who she goes to SMU, which is closer to Arlington than TCU is. So I'm texting her and I was like, oh my gosh, dude, big mistake. What am I doing? Send help. Oh my gosh, being so dramatic, of course, because like that's just, if you know me, that's how I am. And so Sophie's texting me. She's going, okay, perfect. So I'm going to call you in 10 minutes. I'll be there outside the stadium and just tell them that I'm in the hospital and you have to Uber to me. And so, of course, like, what a best friend. But, you know, I sat back and like truly was debating it for a hot minute. But then in my mind, I was like, you know what? He hasn't done anything that warrants me just like straight up leaving him.
Right.
So I was like, you know what? No, Sophie, it's fine. Like, we'll talk about it tomorrow, but I'm not going to leave. He's been nice enough. He just is not for me, which is fine.
Of course.
And let's be clear, I'm probably not for him either.
Well, apparently
me and my loud opinions are probably not for him. And so I was just like, you know what? I'm going to stick it out. And so it was fine. I mean, there were a couple more things where I was kind of going, really? Did you just say that?
Right.
But, you know, drove me back and, you know.
And that's why you date. That's why you go out on dates.
Yes, but maybe not an hour away.
No, heavens no. But honestly, you know, that's why you go out, you go and meet people and you have
absolutely.
to. You have to. You know, I still want to talk to you about dating apps because ours were, and it's still there. It's not ours, but I did Match.com and I met the most fabulous men, none that I wanted to marry, but I met really interesting men. Did I meet some real doozies? Yes. And I always had a backup. And I did eHarmony and many, many others. And I enjoyed it. I actually did enjoy going out with different people. I was always really safe. So you girls that are doing this, and guys, actually, I was safe. I made sure that I met them at a location and everyone knew where I was. And I had a safety net because I made sure that my girlfriends, I'd send them a text.
Okay.
And they would say, I'd say, hey, call me and act like the babysitter. I need to come home immediately, 911. So
no, I'll literally text my friends if I'm like going out on a date with someone or hanging out with someone.
Right.
I will literally text my 3 best friends and I'll say, here's the deal. I'm going with fill in the blank, this guy's name. Here's his Instagram. Oh, wow. Here's his phone number. Here's everything I know about him, which honestly, it's nothing more than like, oh, junior at TCU. Like, you know, it's nothing much, but I'm saying if you don't hear from me in however many days, which like, how sad is it that like we have to do that? But I'll literally send him like, okay, so if you don't hear from me, like, this is the last person I was with. You
know, and that, I mean, that's safety too. You know, you and I, we have always as a family tracked each other. We use the tracking app, even since you were the first time you had an iPhone, and you girls track each other. I mean,
oh my gosh,
your tracking list is unbelievable.
It's probably 13 people long. Like I track all of my close girlfriends.
Yeah, I track you and I guess I track myself.
Yeah.
You track, okay.
I track you.
I track one person. So,
it's all good.
So it's really good. I mean, I know you can do find my iPhone and everything, but that's a great idea, especially if you're going out and safety. So, you know, Greg is really like Kennedy, never,
yeah, for sure.
Always meet them and never, ever, ever have someone pick you up the first time, you know.
Oh, do we want to talk about someone that picked me up the first time, went to my high school? You know the one.
I do. Yes, I do. Yeah. Kennedy decides that she has a boy coming over to pick her up at our home.
Which, again, traditional values. This was where the traditional family that I grew up with, and me being a Gen Z, that's where those butted heads.
Yeah.
So I remember, how old was I? Probably freshman sophomore year, because we had our licenses.
Yeah, you did.
So it's probably sophomore year. This guy and I had been talking. haha, we've been texting. And then he would see me in school and he would be like, oh, wow, saw you today on, in the cafeteria. And I'm like, thanks. Anyway, so he goes, okay, well, do you want to go see a movie? I was like, yeah, for sure. So he buys my movie ticket. Super nice. He was like, I'll come pick you up. And I said, great. Okay. So I sent him my address. And, I'm talking to my mom before he comes to pick me up. And she's like, well, is he going to come to the door? And I was like, Mom, I don't know. Yeah. And she goes, well, I know his mom, so certainly he will. Like, there's no way his mom would let him not do that. And I said, well, Mom, I don't know. We're just hanging out. Like, this isn't a date. And she was like, well,
it's very stressful.
What was it? Like, what is it then if it's not a date? And I was like, we're just going to a movie, like hanging out. And she goes, well, you're talking. It's just like so confusing. Mm-hmm. Even for me trying to explain it now, I'm like, wait, hold on. I'm like scratching my head going, wait, what?
Yeah.
Anyway, so he gets there. I kid y'all not. This man texts me. So as Mom and I are like in kind of a little spat together, she's like, Kennedy, don't walk out that door if he texted you and like didn't come to the door. And I said, Mom, I'm not going to tell him to come to the door. That's so embarrassing. I kid you not. This man honks his horn.
Honk, honk.
Honk, honk. As if I did not see his text message.
Yeah, exactly.
And Mom looked at me and she goes, Kennedy, Addison, don't do it. And I was like, Mom, like, we're just hanging out. It's no big deal. And we were just back and forth, back and forth. Finally, I was like, I'm going. And you were like, you know what? Like, you need to respect yourself more than that. Right. Come on, Kennedy. And so at the time, I was so mortified that she was making me like tell him to come to the door. And I did not do it, of course, because I should have. But I look back at it now and I'm like, what was he? My Uber? Like, come to the door. Like, it's not that hard. Like, it's not like it's a super long jaunt. It is probably 6 or 7 steps from the car.
Right. And yeah, that's right.
You are not my Uber driver.
He was Uber before it was Uber.
Literally.
Oh, good grief.
Anyways, so there's that.
Yeah. And I told all my girlfriends and they were like, I cannot believe he did that. But you know what? That's that pressure, and that's that young pressure. But on the other hand, I'm not sure if he's still doing that now. But anyway, yeah, that was the beginning, and hoping that you understood. But now you do understand.
Clearly now I do. But at the time I was like, this is so silly. Now I look at him like, dude, what? Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, it's true. Okay, so these dating apps. So are you on any of these dating apps? I'm not. But are you?
No way, really?
Are you on these? Okay, so
I actually am. I'm on the Bumble. Mm-hmm. You've heard of it because I've met guys on Bumble before. And honestly, some of them are so nice. Mm-hmm. But it's funny because dating apps, like if you were to say it, I feel like in y'all's generation, mm-hmm. like saying, oh, I'm on a dating app. To y'all, it sounds desperate, right? Probably like in college, probably.
You know what?
Maybe.
Maybe, Gregwood. I don't know. I'm not. Explain to it. What it was.
So long and short, it's kind of the new norm, mm-hmm. I guess.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like I go through Bumble and there are so many guys that I know that like I follow on Instagram that go to TCU. Like when I go home to Austin, sometimes I'll get on it just like randomly. I don't get on it a whole lot. Mm-hmm. Like honestly, this sounds so bad, but honestly, I just do it when I'm bored. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I got nothing else to do.
Right.
Like,
right.
Nothing new on Facebook, Twitter,
so
Insta.
That's Bumble. That's the Bumble.
And dating apps definitely have, like there's a connotation kind of attached with all of them. Mm-hmm. And you can find great guys and women on every single app, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. I haven't used any of the other ones, but you know, there's some where it's like, oh, you use this one if you're trying to find someone to date. You use this one if you're trying to find a quote hookup, okay. Or you use this one for whatever.
Right.
And so I use Bumble because it's more geared towards like, oh, well, you know, the women message first, which is kind of cool because it's, in my mind, that takes it more away from like the hookup sense, right. And more towards like the respectful of like, okay, the women get to make the first move.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I actually have a friend that was the marketing director at Bumble. And she,
oh, wow.
Yeah, so, I mean, great things to say about it, but I didn't realize, you know, the difference between.
Yeah. And it's so normal now. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a big deal when someone's like, oh yeah, I'm on Bumble. Like it's honestly half the time I feel like people do it as a joke. Like I got on Bumble as a joke because I didn't know what it was. I was like, oh, whatever, sure. But I don't know. It's just one of those things where it's like, it's so normalized now for people our age that it's like, I wouldn't judge someone who's on it. I'm like, hey, you do you.
You know what? And it's not much different. Well, it's not different. Well, the only difference I see between eHarmony, the Farmers.com, the Match, all of that was online.
Yeah.
Online. This is an app on the phone.
For sure,
Is that,
yes.
that's
Yes,
the
ma'am.
that's the difference. So for my generation, I can see doing the website.
Right.
Greg and I met on Selective Search, and Selective Search is completely offline. It is a recruiting firm. And there, many years ago, it was to find the love of your life. And Greg was one person paid to be a member, and then the other was in the database. And it doesn't matter who pays, male or female, but they are kind of driving that bus of,
Right.
How many dates they get, and it's fee-based. And that's how I met Greg. And people are like, oh my gosh, were you paying? No, I was a single mom and not paying.
This woman swore off marriage.
Oh.
She literally was like, I'm done. This is enough.
No, I swore off marriage 100%. No, I just wasn't going to do it because of all the heartbreak. But so I was in Selective Search many, many years ago when they started, because it was on Oprah, and Meg, my best friend Meg, said, hey, you should do this, get in the database. I got in the database. It was no big deal. I didn't even hear from them for years.
Oh my gosh.
And then I heard from them. They had someone in Dallas. I was living in Austin. And I'm like, no, I'm dating someone at the time, and that I actually met on Match. And then when my Match person, that dissipated, I put myself back in the database of Selective Search,
Right.
and immediately, I mean, it was crazy. I got this. Oh my gosh! I almost got out because the first person I went out with, we met. They showed me a picture of him. Everything was cool. We didn't speak, but we decided to meet at a restaurant. So we meet at a restaurant, and everything was okay. I mean, this was not a big connection. So I said, I'm going to enjoy a meal. So I order a glass of wine, and we sit there, and immediately he starts telling me about his girlfriend and how
Girlfriend or ex-girlfriend?
his ex-girlfriend.
Okay,
Thank
gotcha.
you. Thank you for clarifying. His ex-girlfriend that cheated on him with her yoga instructor. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. But I'm like, I can totally see how this went down.
Wait, that's very interesting table talk.
Yeah, I know. I mean, the first time I met this guy, so she said, okay, so she had an affair with her yoga instructor. And I went, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, blah, blah, blah. He goes, and it was a woman. And I'm sitting here going, I don't blame her. I just,
Oh my gosh.
and can I have a second glass of wine? And he's like, you're going to have another glass of wine? It was just the date
Absolutely
from
not.
Hades. No, so I was like texting, going, someone saved me. Sure enough, my friend called me. Hey, it's your babysitter. Your daughter fell and broke her leg. Not really. Hey, I got to go. See you. So I decided to get out of Selective Search, and I withdrew. And then they came back and said, hey, we have this great guy for you in Fort Worth. And I went, I'm out.
Done.
I am out.
Peace.
See out, people. I'm out. And it's great. I said, let me see a picture of him. We don't show pictures. Well, you did this last, loser. So, anyway, so they show me a picture of Greg, and I went, no, I'm out.
Did you tell him that the last one sucked?
Yes, I did. I said, that's why I said, take me out of the database. I don't want to do this anymore.
Oh my gosh, and I'm sure they're putting on this sales pitch like, oh, well, this guy's great. And you're like, yeah, you said that about the last one. I'm out.
Yes. It was a back and forth. And I remember one night I was at on my computer watching Housewives, and this girl calls me and said, you've got to meet this guy, blah, blah, blah. Oh my gosh, I caved. And then I talked to Greg for several weeks.
Talking.
We're
We're talking.
So Greg and I were talking.
Greg and Tiffy were talking, y'all.
So we were talking, and we decided to meet in Fort Worth. And 2 days after Christmas, I was so intrigued. He's, if you don't know Greg, you will know Greg eventually, but he has the best personality. And so he won me over, and I came off the elevator at the Omni, and I looked at him, and I just went, I met my husband.
Aww.
I know.
Cue Cupid's arrow.
Yeah. And the dating in my age, so I know my Greg is, he's about as vain as I am. So we were at a restaurant in Fort Worth, and I got up to,
oh my gosh.
I had a big coat on. It was snowing outside, and I got up to leave to go to the restroom, and I could just feel him looking at my bumpus. I could
Your
feel
rear end.
my rear end.
Your booty.
I mean, I did, and then I came back to the bar, and I said, Did you like what you saw?
You said that?
I did.
Oh my gosh, that's bold coming right
know.
out the gates.
I know. So of course, hence we're married now. So it was so funny. So so back to what I was saying. So these things do work. These things do certainly work. The websites, the offline, the dating services, the Bumbles.
It's just funny how it's like now it's gotten from, well, you don't do that unless you're older.
Right.
Well, now it's like you're freaking in high school and people are using dating apps. It's insane.
Absolutely. Back when I first graduated TCU and I was dating this guy, and no, we were not dating. This was the modern day talking.
I was about to say, were you talking?
Give me a break. I mean, I was just so crazy about this guy. I thought I would do anything. And
don't we all?
So he was the one that called. Would call me at 10 o'clock at night. Hey, what are you doing? And it was just like, oh my gosh, I like this guy so much. And I was living 45 minutes away, and hey, you want to come over? Like, oh my gosh, I don't know. I don't know what you call that, but I mean, it was crazy.
I have an answer for that.
For what?
When someone calls you at 10 o'clock at night and they're like, oh my gosh, like come over.
Yeah,
that's a booty call. That is what we call a booty call.
No, yes, this is
in
true.
other words, Mom, you got booty called.
Yes, I did.
No, but honestly though,
but I didn't do it.
Good for you.
Yeah,
we've all been there, so woman. It's like, but good for you. Mm-hmm. We've all had those. But I think so. You know me, I go to bed at like 9:45 most of the time. Like going to bed at 10:30 is late for me.
I know.
And so it's so awkward because sometimes I'll wake up the next morning and I'll have like 4 text messages from the same guy, and it's like 3 a.m. and he's like, what are you doing? Like, come over. Hey, what's up? And I'm like, okay, if I haven't responded in 30 minutes, quit texting me. I'm clearly asleep.
Right.
Well, then they'll like call. And so I have calls from like 4 a.m. So then it's awkward. I wake up and I look at this and I see these people like on campus. And so I will I sit there for a good solid minute in my bed just going, now what? Like, do I respond? Do I act like it never happened? Like one time I literally responded to someone who had done that, and 8 a.m. I texted him back and I said, fun night, ? That one did not go over super well.
That is a Kennedyism if I've ever heard. That honestly, is so hysterical. So it's a modern day booty.
Oh yes. But instead of 10 o'clock, it's like 2 o'clock.
Oh my gosh.
And homegirl's out like a light by then. So anyone listening, don't call me past 10.
Amen. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, so I wanted to talk to you just a little bit about, because we did have one young girl to ask about junior high. So and not necessarily, but it does. This embodies the relationships. And my junior high years were not fabulous, but
honestly, whose were?
I know. I'm not real sure who peaked. Well, whoever peaked at junior high,
can't relate.
But I remember the day I picked you up from your junior high, the last day of school, your 8th grade year, and you looked at me, and if you could have cursed, you certainly would, but you looked at me and said, I never want to see this place again ever in my life. And I'm like, wait, what? And I know, drama, you were a cheerleader. So if you could offer any advice, I mean, what's going on there? Modern day, they all have phones. I can't even imagine what's going on. And so your junior high experience, and share this with the young girls that are listening and the moms that are out there.
Even the mommies.
The moms that are out there, sure.
Well, first of all, let's be clear. You could not pay me enough money to go back to middle school and do that again.
Right.
So my senior year of high school, actually, I was a cheerleader, of course, and my senior year, we went to the middle school, and we had to, kind of help the middle schoolers, which was great. They're amazing little girls, whatever. But literally, my friend and I, we walked through the doors, and we both just got hit with this wave of like, oh my gosh, I'm back to this. Like, no.
Oh, no.
And we were like, this is the worst. Like, we started just reminiscing, and we're like chills up our spine because of middle school. It was funny. I actually was talking to my neighbor in Austin the other day, and we're talking. She has a daughter in middle school, and she's, I'm not letting my daughter have social media yet. Like that, it's just too young. They're not thinking right yet. And it's just, why does she need it? Mm-hmm. So she goes, well, I have an Instagram. So my daughter will look on her phone, whatever. So she goes, one day she comes home and she gets on Instagram on her mom's phone, and she goes, Mommy, like she's just distraught. She's devastated. She goes, Mommy, these 4 girls, my friends, they're all at the Domain together, and their caption says that they're just having the best day of their whole lives. Mommy, and I'm not there. And my neighbor looks at me and she goes, you want to know what I said to her? And I said, what'd you say? She goes, honey, they're drinking milkshakes at the Domain. They probably left right after this picture was taken. Do you really think this is the best day of their whole life?
Right.
And honestly, I think that's so true. I mean, whenever I was in middle school, we didn't have, there was social media, but like we didn't have any yet. Are you kidding? I didn't get an iPhone until like almost 8th grade. Like I had my little flip phone kid and I was balling with that. But like now that's not a thing. It's like kids, the first phones they get, they're iPhones.
Sure.
And so all of those temptations of social media are there. But it's funny because I can't even imagine doing middle school again, but this time with the pressures of social media and phones, like that just to me, like I was used to having to ask you, hey mom, can you call so-and-so's mom and ask if we can hang out?
Absolutely.
Nowadays, it's just like they're in this group message and like my niece, sweet girl, she's in a group message and they're just like, okay, we're doing this. Like, let's all go.
Right.
And so that's just so foreign to me of not having to like go through the parents. And so I don't know, but that's completely beside the point. But I look back on middle school and all I remember is that I hated it. Mm-hmm. And hate's a strong word, but I think it's a warranted one here.
Right.
But I think that my biggest piece of advice for the mommies and the daughters, and of course, daughters, let's be clear, moms, like your daughters are not going to listen to you right now.
No,
like right now, they think I'm looking at the camera, but they think that the moms know nothing.
Of course.
Absolutely.
We're stupid.
I mean, high school, you start to kind of get past that, but definitely middle school, it's like your first taste of freedom. You're like, I got this. I don't need my mom. Like, I'm doing it. This is me. Mm-hmm. So I think that my biggest piece of advice would truly just be like, whatever's going on right now, it might seem like the end of the world, but it's not.
Exactly.
And that's true for any facet of life, like high school, college, the same, like, but truly for middle school, it's like your first taste of freedom. Like you don't have to walk in lines. You get to, wander the halls during passing periods. Like you truly have so much freedom. And for the first time, you feel like I am my own person and everyone's trying to find themselves. And I don't know about guys, but especially with girls, I remember everyone was trying to find themselves. And I think that the reason we hated it so much was because other girls would find themselves through like stepping on other girls and like putting each other down, which is not okay. But, I think it's just truly remembering that, let's be clear, my sophomore year of high school, I couldn't tell you why there was drama in middle school. Mm-mm. And there was one girl in middle school who just was awful to some of us. Mm-hmm. But even her, to this day, I remember that she was awful. I don't remember what she did. I don't remember what she said. I don't remember why she was awful. Like, I don't remember any of that because in the grand scheme of things, it was so minuscule. Mm-hmm. So I think just remembering, like, focus on yourself, and the friends that you make in middle school, they might be your friends in high school, but they probably won't be.
Well, and you still have your friends that they've been
some
there
of them, yeah.
Yeah, some of them, absolutely. Some closer than others. And
for sure.
And, when in the moms out there, and I'm certain you're doing this, and this might be a broken record, but we had a very strong, there was 14 girls that cheered from junior high up to high school to senior year, and they stayed together. The majority of them stayed together, and the moms and dads were really close as well. So, because we were together every Thursday or Friday night for 6-7 years. And we as mothers really did control the going out. Okay, we're going to the Domain. Okay, we're
going with you.
Yeah, somebody's going with, and it was really monitoring
yeah.
Who you were hanging out with. There's that word, but who you were socializing with,
right?
Where you went to spend the night. That was a huge thing. You weren't a big spend the night girl. You like to sleep in your own bed, but and you always have been, and always, I think, always will be. But we really, really did monitor. And I know I have a friend in Austin. She monitors her children. Their social media. I know that, and there's apps I don't even know about right now that can monitor. And
honestly, same.
Yeah,
there's apps that like my cousins will tell me about. They're like freshmen in high school, and I'm like, wait, what? Like, I've never heard of any of this. So it's crazy.
Yeah. And so as a mom, it's your job, and a dad, it's your job to protect your child. And there's so much evil in the world, and there's so much good in the world. So, these relationships in junior high and the phones scare me to death. Just what's out there, and just really, really watching your kids and what's going on, because they're obviously having pressures, and because if they're coming to me, there's pressure. Good grief! I don't even know who you are, but and I want to know who you are. I want to help, and Kennedy, you want to help. So relationships across the board is
relationships.
Yeah. And I told you this the other day. You have a couple of best friends that you've had, they're lifetimers. They will y'all will always be together. But if a relationship ever comes between a boy, between a girlfriends, that
ain't it.
My friend, what have we said?
That ain't it, Chief.
I'm serious. That is not, I tell you, do not just back off, because your true friends really, really care. Deeply. So I say that because it's just something that I remembered the other day, and so but that's it. So that's relationships. So are you dating anyone?
Well, what do you mean, dating, talking, a thing?
I don't know. Tell me what you're doing.
I don't know. Been kind of talking to this guy, but there's no telling.
And you've actually talked.
No, I know. This guy called me.
What?
And I was kind of going, wait, did you click the wrong thing? Did you mean to text me? And so I answered it, and I was kind of concerned for a minute. I was like, hi. And he goes, hey, what's up? How's your day been?
Wait, what?
And I was like, huh? Wait, why? Why do you want to know? But, and so it's just fun. It's like this time of life where, you get to learn because for me, that was cool, because I go, okay, you know what? There are guys in this world who don't just want to text you at 10 a.m. or 10 a.m. at 3 a.m. Sure. You know what I mean? So right. I think that it's easy to forget, especially for girls our age who can't seem to get it right, I guess, maybe is probably the right word.
Right.
I think it's good whenever you meet one of those guys who it's like, you know what, this might not go anywhere. We might just be good friends, but it is cool to know that there are guys like that out there. So it's like, it kind of gives you a new hope.
Exactly.
So, I don't know. It'll be interesting.
Right. And you're young. And, it's just have fun. It's all I can tell you is have fun. And for the guys and girls out there, just have a great time and enjoy.
Not too much fun.
Not too much fun. Yeah. But just enjoy. And, our disclaimers, we don't know everything, but this is our experience. So.
Well, I apparently have loud opinions, so I think I might.
This is true. All right, Kennedy. So tell us your Instagram or anything you want to know. Tell us about that.
Okay, so my Instagram is at Kennedy Addison with 2 N's at the end of it. So ADDISONN. My Twitter is Kennedy Collins. Facebook. You don't really want to see my Facebook. I just upload pictures for my grandparents to see. And then my TikTok.
There it is. There it is.
It's Kennedy Collins 99.
She's TikTok famous, by the way.
I was, but then I quickly.
She peaked.
Yeah, I peaked. They quickly forgot about me, but it's fine. Whatever.
Oh, everyone, thank you so much for listening in today and watching us on My So-Called Fabulous. We cannot wait to see you and hear you and talk to you again. Follow me at Tiffany C. Blackman on Instagram, and please at Tiffy C. Blackman on Twitter, and Facebook is Tiffany C. Blackman and Tiffany Collins. I have a lot going on, everyone.
Goodness.
I know, that's kind of crazy. Anyway, have a happy relationship, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.